Where's today's? That's it. Not that. Okay. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Okay. Pass me that copy. Okay, welcome to all those who are present here and those who are viewing live wherever you may be. We welcome you and consider you a part of our Chabura, our group, as we strive on the Derech Hashem, the path of Hashem, in the light of the great tzaddikim that have paved the way before us. We have begun learning the teachings of Mordechai Zilber, affectionately known as Mottel, whose classes are on the Sefer Mesilas Yesharim. There's a beautiful teaching actually from Rabbi Shmuel Brody, Chasidic Master, who was the Rebbe in Denver, and part of the great dynasty of the Twerskis and from the Chasidic line of Chernobyl. And Shlomo said, in the Torah we find in Yaakov Avinu's vision, his dream on Har Moriah, it says he saw a sulam, a ladder that was mutzav arza, that was implanted on the ground. But if you're careful to look at the words, arza in grammar, in Hebrew grammar, is to the land. It replaces the lamed at the beginning of a word. The hay at the end does. So it means it's planted toward the ground. So what does that mean that a ladder is planted toward the ground, like it's moving and reaching toward the ground? So Shlomo said that in each generation, there's the obligation of the tzaddikim, the leaders, to draw the teachings of Torah from Moshe Rabbeinu throughout the generations to that generation, to explain according to the level of the neshamos and according to the language and the understanding of people, the Torah. And that is the obligation of a tzaddik who's rooted in the shoresh, in the roots of Torah, but is able to also be a bridge by understanding the people, the generation, and being able to communicate the Torah to the people according to the time. So Shlomo says this is what it means. It's mutzav arza. The ladder is starting from Moshe Sinai, Moshe receiving Torah from Sinai and coming through the generations. And it's mutzav arza. It's toward the ground, but it hasn't reached the ground yet, because in each generation it requires that tzaddik to draw the Torah to the ground, to where the people are there. And so it's one of the gifts in learning from a contemporary tzaddik like Rav Mottel is his incredible ability to draw the Torah from the shoresh, from the roots of the teachings of Torah and of Chasidus to our generation by his great understanding of people and of the svarm of the ideas, his ability to transmit them like a bridge to the ground. So we started in this teaching of understanding the love of Hashem Yisbarach for the Jewish people. And this is all based upon a phrase of the Mesilas Yesharim, that one of the contemplations of a servant of Hashem striving for Chasidus, the highest quality of service, is to contemplate Rov Ahavaso Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael, Godel Ahavaso, the great love that Hashem has for Yisrael. that is to be a contemplation, something that a person learns, thinks about, and absorbs. And this whole piece here is really toward an understanding of the beginning of the relationship of Hashem Yisbarach with the people, with Am Yisrael, not just the individual tzaddikim, and now that was founded in love. So we are on up to a section called Yom Chasunaso Zeh Matan Torah. On the day of the marriage, this is Matan Torah. So the whole background of Hashem's initiating this relationship of love of the Jewish people continued until the Jewish people came to Matan Torah. Shezeh haya Bahar Sinai Matan Torah. The giving of the Torah occurred at Mount Sinai. Shu hamakom shebo nizgal HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'mar asneh. The very same place where HaKadosh Baruch Hu revealed himself at the Sneh. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu's first encounter with Moshe Rabbeinu and the opening discussion about his relationship with the Jewish people happened in the Sinai desert. That's where it occurred. And that is exactly the place where Hashem revealed himself to Bnei Yisrael and gave the Torah. And there, in the initial encounter with Moshe Rabbeinu, by appearing in the thorn bush, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, I am with you in pain. I am with you in pain. V'yashav HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'toch hasneh l'hitzdayer b'tzarasan l'Yisrael. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu's presence revealed itself specifically in the thorn bush, which Chazal have told us means that Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu this message: I am with the Jewish people in pain. V'zeh garam shekasher bo b'nei Yisrael har Sinai b'yom hazeh bo midbar Sinai. That would cause that when Bnei Yisrael would come to Har Sinai, his halchu b'lavavos acheros, they came there with different hearts. V'kiblu leiv acher, and they received a different heart. Malei ahava v'arga l'aviyim shebashamayim, full of love and wanting for their Father in heaven. So that message that I'm with you in pain, the pain you're experiencing, I am holding you through that, caused that when Bnei Yisrael came back to that place to receive the Torah, they approached Hashem with a different heart. V'nasu lamahos acheros legamrei, and they became a different being, a different essence. How so? So, says Mottel, V'Rashi, Vayichan Sham Yisrael, Ish echad b'lev echad. Rashi comments on the pasuk, and Yisrael camped there by the mountain. Rashi comments like one man, one heart. Rashi makes this comment because of the grammar of the pasuk. It says, and Yisrael camped there, but it says is the singular for camped, Vayichan, as opposed to Vayachanu, and they camped. It says, and he camped. And he, Yisrael, camps. It says Rashi, indeed, because they were like one person with one heart. Aval shar kol hachanios b'tarumos v'machokas. The rest of the encampments that Bnei Yisrael would have throughout their journeys in the desert was embroiled with great turmoil and dispute. So we need to explain this. V'chishar kol achanuyos hayu b'machlokas. What is this? That the rest of the encampments all occurred with great dispute. Umayirata, what would occur now? Shayu ki'ish echad u'v'lev echad. That there would be like one man and one heart. Ubiyar ha'inyan, the matter is as follows. Tihine yesh harbe drachim b'avodas Hashem. There are many paths in the service of God. V'chol echad yesh lo derech acher b'avodas Hashem. Each person has their path in the service of God. So let's explain this point, what he's Mottel speaking about. A derech, when we speak about a derech, like a path, in Avodas Hashem, it means that a person has a certain approach and a certain continued practice. Like a path where there is a road that's been carved out and you follow it, even though, let's say around it, let's say in a forest, there isn't a path to the left or to the right, it's just wild. Path means something has come, someone has come and paved something that takes you in a way toward somewhere. And that path, that way is clear of obstacles and allows the person to walk in a way that they don't encounter impediments, and it's clear where they're going and they get to where they want to go. So a path, when we talk about a path in Avodas Hashem, it means that a person doesn't just do the mitzvahs. Do the mitzvah here, there's a mitzvah over there, and sort of accumulate good things. That's beautiful and very good. But a path means that a person has an approach to how to take the Torah and its mitzvahs and continuously walk with them toward movement to closeness to Hashem. And that has been done by many tzaddikim that showed within the Torah and mitzvahs themselves how to use them as a path. For example, many of our early Svarim talk about the mitzvahs that are sort of like the heart of what the mitzvahs are, as where other mitzvahs will be like limbs. Every mitzvah is essential and every mitzvah is important, but you have mitzvahs that can serve as the heart of the Torah. The whole thing depends on that. So for example, Sfarim write about love and reverence of Hashem as being the essence, and everything, other mitzvahs being examples where those characteristics are developed through. So that is to take the mitzvah of loving Hashem, or the mitzvah of having reverence for Hashem, and that becomes like a path where there's an emphasis on certain mitzvahs or midos, and by emphasizing that, it's able to give direction for everything else. So for example, if I can understand that many mitzvahs are a way of how to express love, so the path is through love, and all the different mitzvahs serving as examples or ways of bringing forth that love for Hashem. And if reverence is a key characteristic, so all the mitzvahs that can be examples or way to develop that reverence for Hashem. So different tzaddikim over generations have come along and have paved paths where there's been an emphasis of certain mitzvos or certain midos, certain qualities, that if the person emphasizes that and continues to work in that, in learning and in practice, they'll be able to utilize all of the Torah and mitzvos toward movement of closest to Hashem. So, for example, you find this in the Mishnah, in Pirkei Avos. The Mishnah says, "Heve mitalmidav shel Aharon," be a student of Aaron. Right. So let's hear that very well. To be a Talmud means to absorb from your Rebbe certain teachings. So the Mishnah is instructing us, be a Talmud of Aaron. Is that Aaron is a certain quality, is a certain tzaddik, and we are being told, be a Talmud of Aaron. Be a student of Aaron HaKohen. What's a student of Aaron? Ohev Shalom, he loves peace. Rodev Shalom, chases peace. Ohev Asabrios, he loves all people. Umekarvan LaTorah, and draws them close to the Torah. So if you listen well to the Mishnah is telling you what are the characteristics of Aaron that then become a characteristic of a Talmud of Aaron. If you're a Talmud, you're a student of Aaron, you will exhibit these characteristics. You'll be an Ohev Shalom, a lover of peace, and a chaser of peace, and a lover of people, with the intent to draw people close to Hashem's Torah. So that's Aaron. If you would say you'd be a Talmud of Moshe, that'll be something different. A Talmud of Avram, that'll be different, because each tzaddik was an emphasis of different characteristics. And therefore, being a student of that tzaddik would be to absorb the emphasis of the qualities of that tzaddik. So, for example, in the path of Chasidus is known actually as Derech HaBaal Shem Tov, the path of the Baal Shem Tov. That's how it's known, Derech HaBaal Shem Tov, which means that the Baal Shem Tov, it's very certain teachings that would stand at the core of the emphasis of his path. To go in the Derech HaBaal Shem Tov, the path of the Baal Shem Tov, would mean to continuously learn, emphasize, and to work on those teachings, and that would be the person's path. The person walks through a paved path that takes the person close to Hashem. To the left and to the right, there's all sorts of confusion, but here the person's following a derech. And that derech, a path, has to do with the sort of the root of the soul of that tzaddik. And so what is the core midos of that tzaddik? And then how they developed it outward. So for example, let's say, we know that Avram, the core characteristic of Avram is chesed, means that the shorish, the root of Avram's neshama, is most intimately connected to the character of chesed. And that would be his path. A Talmud would mean someone that sort of finds a connection between themselves and that tzaddik through a common meeting of shared characteristics, of emphasis. So often a person is drawn to different tzaddikim or different svarim because although they don't have the developed path themselves, there's a certain connectivity that they have that implies the shorish, the root of who they are, meeting this tzaddik, and there is a path. So that's what it means when we talk about a derech, a path in Avodas Hashem. It means that a person in their maturity is beginning to understand who they are and being exposed to different svarim, or different tzaddikim, different paths, an emphasis of different ideas and different midos, and having a personal connection with that, and deciding that they're going to work in that. In other words, making the decision that I want to develop, I want to go further, I want to walk on this path that's been paved already. So that's what Mottel means when he's speaking here about many paths in Avodas Hashem, and each one has a path. Now, although we're speaking here about the service of God, being that each person is turning toward his path, the outcome is often a separation of hearts and dispute. So, what often is the outcome of a realization of differences and a person maturing is that that understanding of differences sometimes lead to divisiveness. You see, in as much as a person doesn't have anything, so everything's good because I'm not really aware of who I am and the availability of a path of Avodas Hashem. So everything's okay. This is good and that's good. But when a person begins to mature in their own self-understanding and they're exposed to different ideas, then they have a really sharper understanding of where they want to go. And not just sort of live an observant life, but really progress, go forward in a spiritual path. And when that happens, and a person recognizes something about themselves, often leads to divisiveness. Because the more you have a clear understanding of who you are and the path you want to take, so basically you are understanding a difference between you and another person. And the instinctual response to differences often is divisiveness. In other words, if I'm like this and you're like that, then there's division between us. And that often leads to dispute. This is who I am, and I'm not like you. You're different than me. And then often we speak about the nefesh habahamis, how the instinct approaches that. Well, maybe mine is better than yours. Maybe yours is not correct. There's flaws in what you're doing. And the more actually that I'm clear that this is such a right path, it could lead me to be very clear that yours is the wrong path. And you're wrong. And you're not good. And so therefore it's very easy, when we speak about the nefesh habahamis, the instinct, that difference moves toward divisiveness. So the counter-instinctual response to that is, well, there shouldn't be any differences. Let everyone be one. Let everything be the same. Because obviously differences lead to divisiveness. And divisiveness is no good. So let's collapse all differences and let's melt everything together and we'll just all be one. That's actually the Tower of Babel. Tower of Babel is, let's all be one. It says, we'll have one language, and be one people. But that's not correct either. That's also just an instinctual response and an incorrect understanding. Because there are differences. And Hashem made it that way. Each neshama is similar, but different. Each neshama needs the Torah and its mitzvos, but in a different emphasis. It follows the authentic transmission of what the Torah and mitzvos are, but not the same emphasis. Because all the neshamas are very different. So the mature response, or the response to the nefesh elokis neshama is, there are differences, but it doesn't have to be divisive. Okay. So, says Mottel. We find this, that the Talmidim Rabbi Akiva did not treat each other with the proper kavod, the proper respect. The Gemara says that the students of the greatest teacher of its time, Rabbi Akiva, did not treat each other properly, and thus was the cause of a terrible plague that broke out and killed these students. Says Rav Mottel, what was going on over here? Each one had their own view in the service of God. In other words, it wasn't that they were just not nice to each other. They had genuine differences of opinion of what the proper approach, what's the means, what's the points of emphasis in avodas Hashem. For example, one thought, we have to involve ourselves and immerse ourselves more in the practice of davening. We have to put energy and time and feeling into davening, and that's where the emphasis of the service of God should lie. No, the emphasis have to be on working on the character, and developing proper midos, and understanding the kochos nefesh, the powers of the soul, and how to develop them, and in the relationship with people. That's where the emphasis of service should be. Echad ba b'shita, and then one would come with the opinion she'ikra avodahu ba'asmazar. No, the main path is learning, immersing yourself in Hashem's Torah in a way that we're learning in a continuous and consistent fashion. That's the proper emphasis. As one said, no, we have to be very careful and stringent when it comes to fulfilling the mitzvahs, do it correctly and properly, and to follow Hashem's mitzvah as it was commanded precisely. Like this, there are many, many paths in the service of God. There are different means of how one genuinely goes about using the Torah and the mitzvos toward a way of coming close to Hashem. I heard this from the Amshon of a Rebbe. Mottel counts among the Rebbeim that he was close to the Amshon of a Rebbe. The Amshon of a Rebbe is the previous Amshon of a Rebbe. He was a very great tzaddik that Rav Mottel spent time with and often shares teachings that he heard directly from him. And he says he heard this idea from the Amshon of a Rebbe. The dispute that was going on in all the travels to the desert was not about petty things. It's about service of God. Now we're coming to this relationship with Hashem. What's the means? What do we emphasize in all these mitzvahs? Here we have the Taryag mitzvahs, 613. How do we utilize it in a way of a path? That was the disputes that were going on. The Amshon of Rebbe said, when Bnei Yisrael came to Sinai, they saw that there isn't more than one path. So he's going to explain. So something happened differently. It was different when they came to Har Sinai. all that machlokas, all that dispute stopped because they had a different vision. So what happened? Ubir hadavar, the matter is like this. Shekasher bo b'nei Yisrael har Sinai. When b'nei Yisrael came to Har Sinai, hayalehem levavos ka'elu. Shahayu b'madrega shulama lo yosem mikol hadrachim. They had a heart that was above all the different paths. They had a heart that was above all the different paths. B'darga kol echad mechuvan l'osadavar. It was a madrega. Each person was aligned to the very same thing. And they arrived at the purpose of the intention of all these paths. They already arrived at the end. In other words, all the paths are means. That's what it is. Like the Ramchal says, that the Torah and the mitzvos are emtsaim, or the means how a person has devekos habore, the connection, the closeness to the Creator. It's a means. This is how we do it. And the derech, a path within the Torah and mitzvos, means the emphasis of midos, characteristics, or mitzvos, within the Torah and mitzvos as the means toward devekos habore, closeness, attachment to Hashem. At Har Sinai, though, they reached the point, that place of where all paths lead. Where all paths lead, that's where they were. When a person elevates himself and is raised to a level of the soul that's higher, so they're not concerned with smaller things. And what's to be considered then, what's to be considered then as smallness, small-mindedness. So we're always fluctuating, right? Different states of the nefesh. So when a person's at a certain level of the nefesh, certain level of the soul, so then you could look at things that occupied you as being important and saying, that's not so important. According to where you're at, it's of lesser importance. Should we go like this path, that path? And so then, there's no difference when the person, should you go on this path or on that path? Because the whole intention of what it's for is for something else. In other words, at Har Sinai, or when a person comes, each person their level, to the purpose of the path, so that whole preoccupation with my path, this is your path, which creates a divisiveness, is of less importance. Now, it's not to say that the paths are not important. It's not to say that. The paths are very important. And each person has to find the path and the general derech that allows them to go further. But the divisiveness that easily comes from focus on the path, is not the occupation of the person, because the person's already at the end. They're at the devekos habore. They're in that place of connectedness. They've arrived there. And so therefore the whole focus on the path, which leads to differences, which leads to divisiveness easily, is not the focus of the person. They're just there in that place of Tveikus. Umiyad kasher bo lahar Sinai. So immediately when they came to Har Sinai, Hirgishu asava gedola shebein knesses Yisrael. They felt the incredible love that's between the people of Israel and their beloved. Ki hu hamakom shel biyom chasunaso. Zeh Matan Torah, because that's the place of the marriage. That's Matan Torah. Shir Hashirim, the Song of Songs, is a song of love. It's really is a conversation between the people of Israel, the soul of the people of Israel, and God, with veiled references through the intimate love relationship between a man and a woman. So in Shir Hashirim it says, Naso, on the day of the marriage. Say Chazal, that is a veiled reference to Matan Torah, the giving of the Torah. The giving of the Torah and the revelation of Har Sinai is described as the marriage between Israel and Hashem. Yom Chasana, marriage. So when they came to Har Sinai, they felt the overwhelming love that there is between God and Israel, as is expressed throughout the Tanakh. And all those beautiful psukim, Hashem speaks about Israel, where every individual appears as a whole. Every individual appears as the whole before Hashem. Uvamakom is precisely in that place. Hitztair HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yachad Imayim, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu joined in the pain of Israel. V'kan Hayamar Asnan, the place of Har Sinai, that was the place of the revelation of the burning bush. Shehara HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shimanochi B'tzara, and in the burning bush, Hashem showed the Jewish people, I'm with you in pain. So what did they feel when they came to Har Sinai? They felt the comfort and the support and the love of someone that's holding you up in pain. Because the place of Har Sinai is the place of the burning bush. That's what they felt. They felt that support, felt that comfort of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'kan haya lehem hergeshim u'levavos margishim, and therefore here they had feelings, very powerful feelings of love. Like love and like an expiring soul, exceedingly. So they came to that place where HaKadosh Baruch Hu revealed that great love, and they were overwhelmed by it. And that's what Rav Mottel means, that they arrived at the intention of the path. With this love, they came before Hashem Har Sinai. Imamish couldn't recognize the people. They're different. It's like a person that's, as we say, is in love. It's like a different person. Different person. A person would wake up in the morning, and they would seek the welfare of their friend. They say, Shalom Aleichem, how are you? They say, what's happening? What's going on in your life? Their friend would say, I don't know anything. The only thing I know is the great love of Hashem I feel is burning inside of me. So Mottel is expressing it in a human ways. People would ask each other, Ma'u darko b'avodas Hashem? So, what's your path? What's your path in the service of God? Like, what are you connected to? What do you do? Af lo haya lo yoser derech avosem. They didn't have a path. They weren't on the way. Ela kol kulo klos hanefesh v'ahavas Hashem. They were just completely of a desiring, expiring spirit, and great love. V'haya b'madrega sheb'makom zeh eino goyim adrachim. They were at the level. Paths don't make a difference. They were there. They were in the place where all the paths lead you. This person goes in this way, this person goes in that way. Their whole intention, they were just filled with the end, closest to Hashem. Everything was kives lakim, to be close to Hashem. You go whatever path you go. All the paths are good. So they're in that place where all the paths reached, and so therefore they're able to look back at the path and understand, yes, there are different ways of getting there, but we're focused on the there and not on the means. And the focus on the means and sort of my path, so often leads to divisiveness. But in our Sinai, they were at the end because they really were at the end. And therefore, they can look back at the derech, the path, and they can see that for what it is. And therefore, the smallness that often creeps into that. The divisiveness, and I'm like this and you're like that, falls away. The main thing is we are children to Hashem our God. In other words, B'nai Yisrael, the Jewish people, seeing ourselves as children to Hashem. Like the pasuk says, "Banim atem Hashem alechem." You are children to Hashem, and that's just what this is all about. This whole contemplation is to be able to help us instill and to absorb that we are children of Hashem. V'chol hadrachim tovim, all the paths, if these are genuine paths, are good paths. They're all good. HaKadosh Baruch Hu mekabelos kol hadrachim, kol avodos, shekol mishum eskal sinas. HaKadosh Baruch Hu accepts every path in all service of any person that intends seriously toward Hashem. Kamal Chazal say, Echad hamarba v'yechad hamavet. Chazal say explicitly, whether you do a lot, whether a person is learning a lot of Torah, or they're only able to learn so much, whether their time allows them to be very engrossed in the Torah and mitzvahs, or they have less time. The main thing is provided that a person intends toward Hashem. They're sincere and they are looking to come close to Hashem. So the quantity is not significant if that's sort of the reality of what their life is, and their intention is pure. They are seeking closeness to Hashem. V'dar gazos, on this level, ein shum chiluk v'nafka mina. There is just no difference in what the path a person is walking. So they had, at that time, coming to Midbar Sinai the desert, different heart. They were just in a very different place. Lavavu shall close hanefesh v'yahavas Hashem. They had a different heart. Their hearts were just brimming with love of God. And this is what Chazal mean when we say the day of the marriage, that's Matan Torah. In other words, the chasunaso marriage, hainu hischabrus shel klal Yisrael and Doda, means the bond of the Jewish people with their beloved. Because the chasana is when two individuals, two parts become a whole. So when we say that Har Sinai, the revelation of Sinai, was the marriage, means that was the place of bond of Klal Yisrael, the Jewish people with their beloved. The type of bond you cannot explain what it is. It's like when you ask a person that they love someone else, like, what is it? So as much as you try to find words and ideas that explain it, it's not an explainable thing. It's a certain connection that really defies reason. But it is. It is what it is, something. And they were walking with this desirous soul and this fiery love for Hashem. So this is what it means that Har Sinai is B'yom Chasunasa, the day of the marriage. This is where Bnei Yisrael, the Jewish people, came to this realization and this feeling of the immense love that Hashem has for us, and the bond that was created by that adjoining point of the marriage. Okay, so we're going to pause here for today and try to walk with this Torah as we're leading up toward Pesach, which is the time of the beginning of the relationship of Hashem with Yisrael. Hashem takes Yisrael as his people. To walk with this Torah, try to feel the immense love that Hashem has for us. This is the beginning. This is how Bnei Yisrael began. This is how Avodas Hashem begins. Just like any relationship between people, between parents and children, has to begin with love. It's the foundation of the relationship. That one is desirous of the other. One cares about the other. And that's the starting point. There's going to be other qualities and other important points in every relationship, commitment, respect. But the beginning point is that one loves the other. You desire the other. You care about the other. That's the first point. So to enter into a relationship with Hashem as a people and as an individual, this is a point that we have to absorb. Like anything in Ruchnius, this takes time. It takes time to really to learn and to absorb and to walk with that feeling of Bonim, that we are really children of Hashem. Like the Kutzker once said, And one of his Hasidim is calling out, Tata, Tata, Father, Father. And the other people were sort of mocking this person. He's calling out Father, Father. So the Kosker said, don't mock the person. So one day, he will truly be his father. As when a person calls out Father, 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 and you build a relationship with Hashem, then he'll be your father. You see yourself as a child, and you call out Father, Father, and you invoke that relationship, then in time, it will happen. So this is what we're doing when we're learning this piece here. We're learning what it is that when we talk about the beginning of the Jewish people, the beginning of every Jew, and their relationship to Hashem, by learning and by working in this concept, this idea. Okay, so we should have a wonderful week and a wonderful Nisan. Everyone should be blessed to have a week of great strength and a week of great commitment to doing more, each one on their path, to striving higher in the service of God. And have a wonderful week.
Thank you very much. Yeah.